In this video, I will take a look back at the short-lived, very short-lived, George Lazenby era of the James Bond movie series. Does one movie count as an era? Probably not, but I'm trying to keep this video as consistent. So George Lazenby, born in 1939 in Goulburn, Australia, spent most of his teenage years in Queanbeyan. He served for a time in the Australian Army, then later on worked as a mechanic and car salesman. In 1963, Lazenby moved to London to pursue a woman he fell in love with. While working as a used car salesman, a talent scout persuaded him to become a model. He became widely known for an advertisement for Fry's chocolate bars. After the release of You Only Live Twice in 1967, Sean Connery officially retired from the role of James Bond, and the producers of the series began looking for a replacement. George Lazenby met producer Albert Broccoli, where both were getting their hair cut at the same barbershop. Broccoli was impressed by Lazenby enough to invite him for a screen test for James Bond. Lazenby, conveniently forgetting to tell Broccoli that he had no actual acting experience, prepared for the test by wearing a Savile Row suit that had been ordered for but not collected by Sean Connery. During his audition, Lazenby accidentally punched a professional wrestler who was acting as stunt coordinator in the face. This proved to the producers that Lazenby had the necessary ability to be convincing in fight scenes along with his good looks, and offered him the role of
Bond. James Bond.
Amazingly, despite making his debut in On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which is now considered one of the best Bond movies of all time, George Lazenby did not return to play 007. We'll get more into this later, but officially at least, Lazenby quit the role before his one and only Bond film even premiered. He would later regret this, of course, as his acting career stalled during the 70s and never really recovered. But the question remains, just how good was Lazenby's one and only Bond movie? Let's take a look back and see how it holds up. Released in 1969, On Her Majesty's Secret Service was directed by Peter Hunt. The plot involves Bond attempting to track down Ernst Stavro Blofeld, the head of the criminal Spectre organization. Bond discovers that Blofeld intends to hold the world to ransom by threatening to render all food plants and livestock infertile through the use of brainwashed angels of death. Meanwhile, Bond meets and falls in love with Tracy DiVincenzo. The couple begin a romantic relationship and eventually get married. Looking back now, it's easy to forget that On Her Majesty's Secret Service was a massive gamble for the James Bond series. Sean Connery had proven to be so popular in the role that the idea of replacing him with another actor was going to be difficult to say the least. George Lazenby was a complete unknown to movie audiences, with no acting experience. And on top of all that, Peter Hunt wanted to make a very faithful adaptation of the source novel, which would end up being a very different film than its predecessors. To say nothing of the shocking ending, which would be so dark and depressing that its kind would never be attempted again until the release of Casino Royale in 2006. George Lazenby's portrayal of Bond had, and still does have, quite a lot of critics to this day. But while his lack of experience does show at times, I think he does quite well as Bond. The guy is suave, sophisticated, has a likeable sense of humour, and he's very convincing in the fight scenes.
Gate crusher. I'll leave you to tidy up.
Lazenby had a reputation for his partying lifestyle during shooting, and was allegedly learning his lines every morning on the drive into the set. However, according to stunt and fight scene coordinator Vic Armstrong's autobiography, when Lazenby came to work, he proved to be very capable in learning and performing the fight scenes. At the very least, Lazenby was a more convincing action hero than Roger Moore. I love Roger Moore as Bond, but his fight scenes were not his greatest strength in his portrayal of the character. The filmmaker's effort to make up for Lazenby's lack of acting experience was to surround him with a fantastic supporting cast. Diana Rigg was already a well-known star due to her role on TV's The Avengers. No, not those guys. These guys. I won't accept any arguments. Her character of Countess Tracy DiVincenzo is simply the greatest Bond girl of the entire franchise. She's beautiful, smart, tough when she needs to be, and a great match for Bond. Rigg does a lot of the emotional heavy lifting in this film, and I genuinely think that she made Lazenby up his game during his scenes with her. Unlike a certain other Bond girl later in the series, which makes Bond quit the service, you really believe that Bond would give up everything to start a normal life with this woman.
I love you. I know I'll never find another girl like you. Will you marry me?
Majesty's has a very different structure than previous films in the series, in that the romance plot plays side by side with Bond's mission to track down Blofeld. During the middle section of the film, the romance plot takes a back seat as Bond infiltrates Blofeld's lair in the disguise of Sir Hilary Bray, a genealogist. It's here where the movie plays a little fast and loose with the movie series continuity. Bond and Blofeld actually met in the previous film You Only Live Twice, but the novel Majesties came before, and Peter Hunt wanted to make a very faithful adaptation. It's just one of those continuity lapses that you have to let slide really, but when the story you're watching is this good, who really cares? Telly Savalas plays Ernst Stavro Blofeld, and in my opinion, his interpretation of the character is the greatest Bond villain of the entire series. He's easily the best version of Blofeld that has been portrayed in the movies so far. Certainly a lot better than the weak version played by Christoph Waltz decades later.
Cuckoo.
Savalas Blofeld is not only cruel and intelligent, but also a man of culture and even a capable physical threat to Bond.
Our great breakthrough since last summer has been the confection of a certain Vitus Omega.
Infertility.
Total infertility in plants and animals, not just disease in a few words, Mr. Bond. If my demands are not met, I shall proceed with the systematic extinction of whole species of cereals and livestock all over the world.
Including, I suppose, the human race.
I don't think, do you, Mr. Bond, the United Nations would let it come to that?
After the outlandish fantasy of You Only Live Twice, Majesties is a welcome return to the more grounded realism of the early Connery films. This is something the Bond movies would do several times over the decades. Whenever the series goes too big or too far into the realm of fantasy, they follow it up with a more down-to-earth installment. For Your Eyes Only followed Moonraker. Casino Royale followed Die Another Day. In fact, Majesties dials back all the usual Bond ingredients. There's not much in the way of gadgets, and in fact, apart from a few brief fight scenes in the early part of the film, there's not a lot of action. It's only when Bond escapes from Blofeld's lair in Piz Gloria that we get the first truly big action sequence of the film, with a terrific ski chase. It's one of the very best of the series, and John Barry's fantastic score adds to the excitement. The usual MI6 regulars M, Q and Moneypenny act more like a family to Bond here more than in any other film of the series. The scene where Bond almost quits only to have his resignation redrafted as a request for 2 weeks leave is my favourite Moneypenny scene. And despite M acting quite harsh at Bond, you can tell he has a lot of respect for him thanks to Bernard Lee's excellent performance. Even Q isn't as cranky with 007 as he usually is, and it's a real shame it wasn't Connery playing Bond in this film, as these scenes would have had more emotional impact given these characters' history and familiarity to the audience. Even for a movie that's over 50 years old, Majesties has some of the best cinematography of the entire series. The snow sequences in this movie look absolutely breathtaking, and the final assault on Blofeld's lair puts modern day blockbusters to shame. Also, just how cool is that shot of Bond sliding down an incline and firing his gun at the same time? It lasts for only a few seconds, but it's my favourite shot of the movie. The bobsleigh chase suffers from perhaps a little bit too much studio-based rear projection work, but in the live-action shots, you can see the stuntmen put themselves in some real danger here. Now, this movie isn't for everyone. This movie is a slow burn, and if you're looking for a fast-paced and outlandish spy caper, you're not going to find it here. Majesties is a film that takes its time to develop its plot and the central romance between Bond and Tracy. It had to do that really because if that relationship didn't work, the movie just would not work. Which brings us to the ending. Spoilers for a 52-year-old movie coming up. The movie ends with Bond and Tracy getting married. It's a beautiful scene with some great moments between all the main characters. It doesn't last long though, with Tracy being killed as Blofeld and his henchwoman Irma Bunt attempt to kill Bond in a drive-by shooting. It's such a dark and depressing ending, and it's amazing that the filmmakers were brave enough to end the film in such a shocking way. Lazenby, here in his final scene as Bond, despite his lack of acting experience, gives a good performance as he mourns Tracy.
It's all right. It's quite all right, really. She's having a rest. We'll be going on soon. There's no hurry, you see. We have all the time in the world.
A lot of the credit has to go to director Peter Hunt, who on the day of filming the scene made Lazenby rehearse over and over to the point where the actor was so exhausted that he gave the performance that the director needed. It's a pity that Lazenby decided not to make any more Bond films, as it would have been interesting to see him grow into the role as other actors did. Peter Hunt also didn't return, which is a shame as the film has stood the test of time and is now regarded as one of the very best films of the series. Its influence being especially felt in the latest film No Time to Die, which it shares many themes and references with. And that's it from my look back at the very, very short-lived George Lazenby era of the James Bond series. Thanks very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't done so already, share with your friends, and be sure to click that bell button. That way, you'll be notified whenever I upload new content. Hope you all look after yourselves, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye for now.